Hello there, and welcome to another of these type of walkthrough videos. Today I am walking you through a track of mine called Dysfunction, published by Evolving Sound. This track has been used in a lot of different campaigns. It was used by Netflix in the Fear Street campaign. Amazon used it for a Sizzle commercial campaign, and Apple used it for the Tragedy of Macbeth campaign, and I can't remember if there was a fourth one. Oh well, if I remember it, I'll say what it is. Anyways, this track is more of the kind of neoclassical, the small string ensembles with some sound design and so on. It has taken a bit of time before I could actually do this walkthrough because I have to get permission by the publisher. And since this was an industry-only track, which means only the trailer industry has access to it, I couldn't do it before now, where it is public on Spotify and all that. So if you want to listen to it at some point, feel free to do that. Anyways, as always, before I go through this track, let's give it a listen, and then we can kind of go through some of the layers and talk a bit about all the edit points and so on. I'll see if I can fit everything in the frame. I don't think I can. It's a rather large project. Oh well, it's not going to get better than this. Okay, so let's listen through and take it from there. Okay, so as always, it's so fun listening back to these tracks because I haven't heard this since I wrote it, and it's been quite a long time. So there are some interesting stuff that, well, funny enough, I wouldn't do now, but since this is one of my most licensed tracks, I guess it worked anyways. So you can always also learn from your past self on this occasion. Anyways, let's take it from the start, from section to section. We start out very sparse, very sparse. The main part of it all is the whole string section here. And as you can see throughout the project, there is a lot of stuff that is bounced in place. And this is simply just because I was using a old computer when I was writing this. So I simply just had to. Anyways, this whole section is all about setting the tone. Not so much about big Brahms or big effects or anything. So we have this string section together with a drone. And underneath that we start to introduce some booms and small riser effects. Just build. We are not building intensity. We are building excitement for what's to come, and slowly we start introducing some of these signature sounds. And then I use, with the risers and everything, I use one of my favorite tricks to kind of build excitement and build tension. And that is simply building tension without the release. So, for example, this. Once we get to the end, there is no downbeat. It all just builds and builds and then stops. For example, another version could be that you do something on the downbeat, like here, for example. And here comes a hit on the one. This other thing without any hits or percussion on the one, that builds excitement and tension, which is really, really great, especially for what I've experienced for Act 1s and the start of a cue. I do it again over here in the mid section before the final act. I do the same. Build excitement and just stop. It works great. Anyways, we get out from Act 1 into some sound design. I know it says mouth elements, and there are some reversed elements and so on, but I actually think as far as I remember, I made this with those little plastic balls for table tennis, or what's it called? A quick little edit point for the trailer editor, and we start the actual second section. Sparse shallows, again courtesy of Density by Mammoth Audio. They have the absolute greatest cello library for this kind of stuff. We introduce more shallows and we start building upon these sound design elements. We introduce a drone. We introduce a string section again and slowly start building with risers underneath all this. And these risers just builds and builds and builds and builds and builds. And on top of that, it's basically just putting elements. So the whole main, I would say the main section and main element of this track is basically this. All these cellos playing weirdly and playing a bit out of tune and a bit odd, and on top of that some violins, kinda kind of doing the same, but mainly as a support to the cello, which is also why it comes in with this little melody line. Yes, yes. And on top of that, we have these buttock strings. I love the sound of these. And this is freaking free. I believe this is from Labs. Yeah, Labs. Great. Sounds absolutely fantastic. And cello bends, courtesy of Density again. Awesome. And we get to the end of this. Yes. And of course, underneath this whole instrumentation, we have all the hooks, which also create edit points for the trailer editor. And which are also elements that they can just pull out if, for example, they don't like the rest of the track, but they absolutely love the sound that you did. They can just pull that out and just license that, or license the stem, and you still get a pretty decent fee. Well, of course, you would get a much better fee for the whole track, but you know what I'm getting at. Anyways, that ends, and we get to the mid section. Basically just to build up and give the editor space and room to do some dialogue or something. And we kind of just introduce this, which just builds in intensity. And again, build the tension without anything on the one. And we start introducing percussion. And up here, before the percussion, we have some more sound design, some Brahms, or what you want to call it. I can't remember what I made this of. And then we have something from Density. Very cool. And it's just the same. Yeah, very cool. So basically the end part here is just everything we already have from here, thrown on top of each other. So basically, if we just take the strings, all the strings, well, let's take the bends too. If we just take all the strings, they could carry the whole track without any problems. And as you can hear, we also introduce some more weird tonal melody phrases here and there. But the main thing that we introduce here that is not in any of the other sections is the big percussion section. Some of the percussion working as rhythmic elements to build the intensity of the track and keep the pace, and then we have elements of percussion where it's more for edit points and downbeats and hits and so on. Yeah, and that basically just builds. And then we get the outro. Elements we already heard, but just to close it all off. Yeah. And, well, I guess another different thing is also this one. Basically just, it's just a sine wave. It's nothing else. It's just, when you open up EX24, or it's called the sampler now. When you open that up, it's just the basic sine wave. Yeah. And of course, we have the usual, the hits, some of my own, some are from Mammoth Audio, some are something I recorded for the track, and the rises underneath, so nothing special in the sound effects section. It's mostly about trying to give edit points at the right time and build intensity. This track is all about constantly adding new elements and building intensity. That is why we start out so sparse with almost nothing. Then we start adding something that gives some sort of pace and tempo, and we build and build and build and build. And then when we get to the end, we just go absolutely bonkers. On the same stuff, we just layer more stuff. So that's basically the track. There's no secret magic to it or anything. So I'm not going to talk anymore about this track now. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you feel like this is worth something to you, feel free to subscribe or follow me at Instagram or Twitter or all that other nonsense. Anyways, I hope you got something out of it. And until next time, have a very nice day.